Northwest Florida voters are going back to the polls for the second time in less than 5 months. Matt Gaetz won a 5th term last November, but resigned just weeks after the election. Democrat Gay Valimont, who lost to Gaetz, is back for another shot at the congressional seat. This time, she'll face Jimmy Patronis. Handpicked by President Trump to run for the job, he destroyed his 9 opponents in the January Republican primary. Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Albrecht. Tonight, we will hear from the major party candidates running for Florida's District 1 congressional seat, Jimmy Patronis and Gay Valimont. We'll talk about the big issues facing the nation and the district. Democrat Gay Valimont is 51 years old. She lives in Pensacola. She's a former athletic trainer and a gun violence prevention activist. I spoke with her about her campaign and why she says she's the better choice for Northwest Florida. Gay, you ran for this position just a few months ago and against an opponent, arguably, who had a little more baggage than the candidate that you're running against this time. It's the most conservative district in the state of Florida. You lost by about a 2-to-1 margin. Do you think you can win this time, or do you have a different goal in mind in running for this office?
No, I believe I can win. We would have never started this if we didn't think we could win. We believe, after 19 months, and I've spent so much time talking to the people of this district, Republican, Independent, Democrats, people know that I want to represent the people of this district, and it doesn't have anything to do with my party. It has to do with, I'm from here. I shop at the same places they do. I care about this district and the people in it. I want to go to Washington and do my job and then come home.
You mentioned living here. Let's talk about that. Your opponent is from the Panama City Beach area.
Yes, he is.
Is that a disqualifier for you? Do you think voters should consider that heavily?
Well, I think voters should definitely consider it. While it's not illegal, it's unethical. I don't know how you can represent people when you don't know who they are. When you're not in the district, I think it's wrong. But again, I'm telling the people of this district, I know exactly what you're going through. I'm just like you. I'm not from Tallahassee, and I haven't been a politician for 30 years. I am just like you, and I want to solve our problems.
Other than the residency, what don't you like about Jimmy Patronis and what his vision is for the district and the country?
Well, Jimmy said over and over again, I want to work for Donald Trump, and has never said, I want to work for the people of Northwest Florida. I think that's wrong. Other things that are wrong with Jimmy is the CFO of Florida, has been for the last 7 years. Under his purview is our entire insurance crisis. It falls solely at his feet. And so I don't know why you would send an arsonist in to put a fire out.
You mentioned that he was endorsed by President Trump. What are your thoughts of the first couple of months of the Trump administration?
Well, it's rough right now. It's really rough with federal cuts, with the job losses. We have 20,000 federal employees that live in this district. And we've had at least half of them walk in the door crying because they're not sure what's going to happen to their job, or they've already lost their job. A lot of our federal national park rangers have lost their jobs. Spoke to several of those last week. And these are people that have very specific jobs that you can't find everywhere. So what I fear is what it's going to do to our local economy. Our local economy, when you take 20,000 families out of our economy because they can't live here and can't find a job, that takes money away from our local businesses, our local grocery stores, and it's going to hurt our economy further down the road. I'm also very, very concerned about the VA cuts.
How about the tariffs? Do you think, what's the impact going to be on 1st District of Florida?
Well, it's going to be immediate. It's going to be immediate. We already are living in an economy that we are paying outrageous prices for goods. And now they're going to put a 25% tariff on top of that. I think the people of Northwest Florida will start to see it in their pocketbook when they go to buy groceries. They'll understand that the policies that they're putting in place are not helping us.
In terms of our foreign policy, we seem to have a dramatic shift here, that we're moving away from NATO, our best friends, Canada,
yep.
And the situation with Ukraine and President Trump trying to force Ukraine to the table with concessions to Putin and Russia.
Right.
What are your thoughts about that, and what do you think the people of Northwest Florida want to see happen there?
Well, I think the conversations that I've had with people in Northwest Florida lead me to believe that they don't necessarily understand why we are helping Ukraine, why we've always helped Ukraine. They are our ally, and they have been invaded by Russia in a land grab. Now, if your neighbor comes and tries to steal your land, you want your friends to help you, right? And so it just makes sense. I had a lady tell me the other day that her disability check was reduced because that money out of her disability check was going straight to Ukraine. And I think people don't understand the budgeting around that. Congress has appropriated money to go to Ukraine to help them fight this war. They should be able to keep their land and get their 30,000 children back from Russia.
Let's talk about some of the issues that are specific to this district and this state, really, when we talk about homeowners insurance. Is that something that can be handled at the federal level, and what's your plan for dealing with that?
Well, Jimmy had the opportunity to cap insurance rates. He didn't because it's in his policy not to regulate. Now, when our consumers are so injured by your policies, we have to have regulation. And so we have to do something about our insurance rates. And now that Jimmy's had 7 years to destroy it, it's time to go to the federal level, have hearings, and find out what's going on.
How about health care? I know you're talking a lot about health care. What do you hear from people, and what should Congress do to make this a better situation for working Americans?
Oh yeah, well, the whole healthcare system needs to be overhauled. I believe that every independent insurer should pay on the same scale. For instance, if you are insured by Blue Cross Blue Shield, or if you're insured by United Healthcare, they should pay everything at the same level so that the consumer knows what they're paying when they walk out of the door. I think insurance is too confusing for people, and it's the highest bill you pay, one of the highest bills you pay every month, so it should be there for you when you need it.
Is that one of the things you hear most from in talking to people, healthcare?
Well, not lately.
Lately, some other things have come up.
In the last 6 weeks, it has been cost of living, cost of living, cost of living, insurance crisis, and people losing their jobs and benefits. We are hearing fearful veterans concerned. We are hearing the elderly concerned about their Medicaid or their Medicare and Social Security. This is not the way to manage the government. You don't burn it to the ground.
You mentioned veterans. We don't have a VA hospital center here like a lot of places have around the country.
Right.
How do we get one?
That is my number one goal. We have money that's already appropriated, but not enough. We have the most veterans of any place in Florida, and like second in the nation. We have a lot of veterans here that we have to take care of. We owe them, and they have earned it. We should have a state-of-the-art facility here. We should set the standard on this Emerald Coast, and I plan on doing that.
Let's talk about our military installations here. A lot of them in this district.
Yeah.
What are the specific needs for some of these locations, and how high a priority will that be for you?
Well, it's affordable housing, mostly for our enlisted. Our junior enlisted live on very small wages, and a lot of times they rely on SNAP benefits that in the new GOP budget are zeroed out. So we're talking about taking away food from our junior enlisted and their families. That's wrong. Other things, we have to make sure that we have affordable housing around our bases, because our military families come and they get a stipend from the government, and it doesn't match what the average home cost here. And it's all because of our homeowners insurance. If you're looking to rent, you still pay that bill from the owner is passing the cost on to you. So it is a crisis.
How about infrastructure needs, let's say at NAS or Hurlburt or Eglin?
Yeah, NAS especially has been, in Sally was destroyed, and a lot of that stuff has not been fixed. And that makes no sense. I don't know why NAS does not have a skiff on base. That is a priority from what I hear from the upper officers. I think that's important. I think listening to our military and what they need to be warfighter ready is the most important thing we can do.
Let's talk about the border. That was a big issue in the presidential election. What do you think people here in this district want done on our southern border?
I think immigration is a huge issue that has been ignored by both parties for 30 years because nobody wanted to do anything. Our border is important to make sure that we have that we keep criminals out of the United States, but it also serves a purpose. We have asylum seekers that come from countries where they are threatened, their children are threatened, and they need a place to be. That's what the United States does. So what we have to do is fix the processes, not say no.
Let's talk about the status of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
You look at polls about some of the issues, for example, abortion rights or expanded health care or limited gun control, and it seems that the majority of Americans would agree with the Democrats, and yet here you are out of the White House, out of both houses of Congress.
Yeah.
What's going wrong here for Democrats, and how do you change the messaging?
Well, I think a lot of what happened in November was the Democratic Party couldn't get on one page with our candidate. It was a rushed campaign. I think it was a gift to Donald Trump because people wanted something new and they looked at Kamala and saw Joe Biden. So I'm all for new. We have Donald Trump as our president. I intend to work under Donald Trump as our president, but I will fight for the people of this district. And no matter what the bill is and what the Democrats want and what the Republicans want, I'm going to always do what's best for the people here.
One final question, and I know you've been through a lot of personal tragedy with your husband dying and a child in the same year. How has that experience allowed you to run for this office, and how might it make you a better congressperson?
Right. I have had immense tragedy in my life, but I also know that my family would be so proud of me. They would expect me to do this because I can. I've been through the worst that anybody can go through, and they can't hurt me. Washington can't hurt me. And it puts things into perspective, the things that are important and the things that are not important. But I'll grieve for the rest of my life, but I'm not the only one in this world grieving. We just got over a pandemic where 3 million people died. Everybody is grieving something. So I intend to take that with me to Washington and fight every day.
When we come back, we will hear from Republican candidate Jimmy Patronis.